Welcome to a brand new week here on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby-Annan and welcome to the news on New Day. The bulletin is also live on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We're live too on DSTV channel 279. Let's take a look at the headlines of the bulletin on Monday, 10th July. Coming up this morning, heavy rains caused havoc in Volta region's capital, Ho. Also in the bulletin, NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama describes as unwarranted attacks against Domahene over comments regarding the trial of Asin North MP James Gyakye Quayson. This morning, we'll also explore some of the responsible ways to maintain dogs. Plus, some international news as a BBC presenter accused of paying a teenager for sexually explicit photographs has been suspended. You're welcome to the program. Let's settle for the details of the stories. And the Presidential Vetting Committee of the governing New Patriotic Party is expected to present its report to the National Council today, July 10, 2023. The committee vetted all 10 aspirants seeking to lead the party into the 2024 general elections. The NPP wrapped up the vetting of all 10 flag-bearer hopefuls with former Member of Parliament for Mampong, Francis Adai on Thursday. The vetting, which is a critical part of the processes leading to the selection and election of a presidential candidate for the 2024 elections, began on July 3 and ended on July 6, without the incidents of chaos that characterized the filing of nomination forms. Vice President Dr. Bawumia, a former Trade Minister Alan Kyerematen, a former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Joe Ghartey, a former Minister of Food and Agriculture Dr. Owusu Akoto, a former General Secretary of the NPP Kwabena Agyapong, Member of Parliament for Asin Central Kennedy Ohene Agyapong, a former MP for Finson North Dr. Kofi Konadu Apreku, a former Energy Minister Boakye Jarko, Kojo Poku, who is also an energy analyst, former Member of Parliament for Mampong, Francis Adai, have all been vetted. But we're still staying in the arena of politics, where the 2024 flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress is taking a swipe at supporters of the governing New Patriotic Party who have taken on the Domahene for asking the Attorney General to file a nolle prosequi in the James Gyakye Quayson case. The Domahene has come under attack for asking the government to halt the case in the interest of national unity. Well, speaking at the Thanksgiving rally of the NDC in Asimbriku, John Mahama says the attacks are unwarranted. We'll bring you a report by my colleague Komla Kluche later. But let's move on to some other subjects of the bulletin this morning. In the morning news here on TV3, also live on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. Now, this is a rather sad one. It was a gruesome murder that received global condemnation. Although such incidents are not new in the northern parts of the country, they remain barbaric, illegal, criminal, and unconstitutional. My colleague Christopher Malco has more in the following report.
It was a murder that enraged the country and put the scorching light on practice of lynching alleged witches. On Thursday, July 23, 2020, 90-year-old Equia Dente was lynched in broad daylight at Kafaba in the East Gonja municipality of the Savannah region over witchcraft accusations. She was one of 17 women who were subjected to inhuman treatment by a supposed soothsayer whose job was to flush out witches the community claimed were holding back their development. The soothsayer, Hajia Sirina Mohammed, and her accomplice, Latifa Bomaye, were arrested and arraigned before the Tamale High Court. They were charged with murder, which was later changed to manslaughter on Tuesday, July 4. The two were convicted to 12 years imprisonment each for the two charges of manslaughter and trial by ordeal. The family of Equiadente say this represents some form of justice for her.
We are happy that our mother will be given justice.
2 other suspects, teacher Aliu and Sanja, who are on the police wanted list, remain on the run.
They should be arrested because they are teachers, they are role models.
For Executive Director of Santaba, Hajia Lamnatu Adam, though the conviction is welcoming, the exclusion of compensation to the family is worrying.
All these 3 years, they've been to and fro from Salaga, to the High Court. And I think this is the perfect time that we can give this the attention that it needs.
Witchcraft lynchings have continued to happen in northern Ghana, leaving activists and many other families helpless. At least 4 victims have been lynched. All but one of the victims were women. Mameri is a victim of witchcraft accusation at Sumpini in the West Gonja municipality of the Savannah region. She is happy that the family of late Equiadente got justice for their mother and appealed on police in Damango to arrest the youth who tried to lynch her.
Whether or not the conviction of Hajia Serena Mohammed and Latifa Bomaye will bring an end to witchcraft accusations in this part of the country is a matter for another day. But what we do know is that for the first time in the history of this country, some persons have been convicted by a court. Christopher Marco, TV3 News.
Now, going back to an earlier story where the 2024 flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress is taking a swipe at the supporters of the governing New Patriotic Party who have taken on the Domahene for asking the Attorney General to file a nolle prosequi in the James Gyakye Quayson case. Remember that the Domahene has come under attack for asking the government to halt the case in the interest of national unity. Well, speaking at the Thanksgiving rally of the NDC in Asinbrook, John Mahama says the attacks are unwarranted.
The entry of James Gyakye Quayson sent the crowd agog with the unified strength of the chiefs and people. For months, the NDC campaigned to retain a seat they held until it was declared null and void. A rally that climaxes a weekend of activities to thank the chiefs and people saw several party faithfuls, MPs and stalwarts of the party in attendance. Minority leader Dr. Kesela Tuforsen, speaking to the crowd, says the minority will stand firm behind James Gyakye Quayson.
NDC MPC Nara, 137 on our Kamubi.
NDC has 137 members in parliament, including James Gyakye Quayson. We have vowed to stand with him at all times.
In his address, the General Secretary of the NDC, Fifi Kwete, stated that their sins people's resolve should serve as a lesson to the state and its agents.
What you have done here is tell the MPP that you will not sell your soul and see your constituency go down. That is a message that Ghana needs to hear. It's a message the Electoral Commission must hear. Don't sell your soul and let the nation go down.
Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, says Joe Quayson's greatness will be unmatched despite all the weapons formed against him.
Joe Quayson is on the way to greatness. Who bless, no one cares.
For James Gyakye Quayson, the outpouring of love has rejuvenated his spirit to fight more for the constituency.
I promised my constituents of development, and that is what I have come to deliver. Everybody can join the NDC because it is the only party that gives opportunity to the common.
Any common person, president, MP,
Former President and 2024 NDC flag bearer John Mahama intimated that the same formula is the way forward.
Actually, yeah, friend, I seen no formula. I seen no formula. And no any of the Ghana
The Asimov formula is what we will resort to for victory in 2024.
He called out people who have been attacking the Domahine. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Asin Breku.
Now, away from that, hundreds of residents and businesses have been devastated by severe flooding that caused in the Volta region now by a 4-hour rainstorm that hit Ho municipality. Robert Abilba has been touring some affected areas together with the Ho municipal chief executive, Divine Busson, and filed this report.
The intense downpour reportedly began around 3:30 Saturday afternoon and lasted about 4 hours in the Ho municipality. The intensity of the rainstorm led to the ground becoming so saturated that it could no longer absorb water. Many homes and businesses were inundated. Some of the affected areas include Ho Bankoi, Ho Polyclinic, SDA, Powerhouse and Medical Village. Irresponsible dumping of waste into drainage systems and building on waterways are also partially to blame for the Saturday night havoc. Other impacts of the flooding include severe erosion of roads and drains in the municipality. The Ho Municipal Chief Executive Divine Busson led an inspection tour of some of the affected areas.
They should go out there and do what is to be done. When you want people to tell you to sweep your environment, to clean your waterway and those things, and they have to tell you, it goes with a cost.
Ivy Ameuga is the Volta Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization.
We realize that some people have some structures on waterways, and it is the duty of the Assembly to make sure that those structures are pulled down.
The Deputy Regional Environmental Officer, Comfort Sunu, urged stakeholders to adopt a new strategic plan to prevent further disasters.
I'm pleading that we should come on board, put all our technical teams together and bring our expertise on board and ensure that we solve this problem of storm drains in Ho and reduce the damage level that it always come along with whenever it rains.
Now, President of Zambia, Hakainde Hichilema, is advocating for the deployment of technology to accelerate Africa's achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially Goal 6, which promotes quality sanitation and water for all by 2030. During a tour of the Accra compost plant, he said Accra can do better in sanitation when the sector is prioritized.
1 million tons of waste are globally generated daily, with a chunk from Africa. 62% of these wastes are composed of organic materials. However, the low funding of the sanitation and water sectors, coupled with improper ways of handling waste, have persistently impeded the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal 6. The Zambian president, Hakainde Hichilema, was at the Accra compost plant as part of his 3-day state visit to Ghana to obtain first-hand information on waste processing and leverage existing technologies to improve the prevailing sanitation situation in Zambia. He observed that Africa is confronted with waste management issues because sanitation has not been a priority and called for a paradigm shift in funding.
Time has come to allocate decent resources to the priorities of Africa: development, jobs. I don't think our populations would tolerate leaders who just talk anymore. I don't think so. And you all know why. Because the population is younger, it's energetic, it's fragile, it's impatient.
The Zambian president also advocated for African leaders to create opportunities in the sanitation and water sectors to attract investment and create wealth for the citizens.
Some of us are pushing together President Nana Akufo-Addo and others on the continent that this must be top of our agenda on our regional meetings, ECOWAS, SADC, East African Community, and the African Union, not just talking politics. We must talk politics, but really driven by business and opportunities for our people. So I wanted to record this to you so you understand that you don't now have to persuade us in order to create space for joint ventures between Ghanaians and Zambians.
Hosting the delegation, the chairman of the Jospon Group, Joseph Siao Ejapon, indicated his preparedness to contribute to addressing the sanitation situation in Zambia.
In Africa, waste is the last thing that we consider in our budgeting, in our planning. Whereas America or Europe take it as number one, as environment. That is why they concentrate on tourism. We humbly want to assure you that if we are given the chance, we will convert this to something like this for you.
Moving on to some other subjects, and recent dog attacks have reignited calls for strict regulation of dog ownership in the country. In the last year alone, 2 children have been killed by dogs in Abrepɔ-Broni and Owutu Senya. Josh Queening in the Flynn Report explores some of the responsible ways to maintain the great companionship of dogs.
Dog attacks have become an increasing problem in Ghana in recent years, with an alarming number of incidents leading to serious injuries and in some cases, even deaths. On July 2, at Abrepɔ-Broni, a suburb of Kumasi, 2 bulldogs attacked and killed an 8-year-old boy in an attempt to feed them at his family's residence. His grandmother and elder brother, who tried helping, were equally attacked. The police came in and shot the dogs. A similar incident occurred at Owutu Senya, where a rabid dog attacked 8 children and killed 1. I am here at Kaso Opekuma to meet a dog breeder who specializes in Rottweilers. The good thing is there's a caution, even though I'm aware that there are dogs in the house. But how many houses with dogs in them have cautions like this to inform visitors? Dog breeding started as a passion for him in 2009 after he inherited his grandfather's collection of 3 local dogs. Currently, he specializes in Rottweilers, which is now his source of livelihood. Peter is aware of the unfavorable headlines in the popular media about this particular breed. For a breed that carries a rough reputation, venturing into it came with lots of research and dedication. According to Dog Training 101 by Cesar Damba, the guardian instinct of Rottweilers are strong. Neglect or abuse will create an extremely dangerous animal.
We teach them what to do. Knowingly and unknowingly, we teach them how to react. So then I'd like to blame us that we lack some form of dog education as individuals in this part of the world. And that is why the recent attacks have been rampant.
For him, responsible dog ownership starts with proper training and socialization at a young age.
Maybe the child feeds the dog every day, fine. But maybe on that particular day, there was something that was being fed that one dog liked over the other. Or, like you saw my dog, some of them react to the ball very, very, very well. Others are indifferent about the ball. So then that's another trigger.
Peter tells me a number of his clients have had their fair share of dog attacks after they failed to train them. Nana and Emmanuel Yabua are siblings who have visited Peter's kennel to own a breed for themselves.
When you find yourself in an environment where you feel like it's not safe, then you think of getting a dog or company. So yeah, the first is protection.
While dog attacks are not unique to Ghana, they have garnered significant attention worldwide due to their potentially devastating consequences. On January 7, former Zambia international Philemon Mulala 60 was mauled to death by his 3 pet dogs in the garden of his South African home. In the UK, for instance, both ownership and breeding of pit bulls were banned by the 1991 Dangerous Dog Act in response to a series of incidents involving vicious, often unprovoked attacks by this particular breed on humans. Kevin Eje-Darko is a British journalist, and he tells me there are calls for more legislation by Brits.
In the last 5 years, there's been a 34% increase in dog attacks in the UK, which obviously is quite worrying. So I think it's important for countries to introduce rules and laws that governs the ownership of dogs, because let's be honest, some of them can actually really be out of control.
Ghana's current legal framework falls short in terms of establishing clear guidelines for responsible ownership, licensing and enforcement of penalties for negligent owners.
And we are pushing that the Animal Health Bill 2021 at the Attorney General level will go very fast and help to solve all these issues.
The Veterinary Services Directorate recommends that prospective owners thoroughly research the breeds of dogs they wish to bring into their homes and, if at all possible, hire professional trainers to handle the animal. Some of these pets may come in handy while driving along the street. It will be useful to know which breed to buy for your home. George Quenin, TV3 News, Accra.
In international news this morning, the British Broadcasting Corporation says a presenter accused of paying a teenager for sexually explicit photographs has been suspended. The BBC says it is working as quickly as possible to establish the facts into the allegations concerning the as yet unnamed male presenter. The Protection of Children Act 1978 says that it is a crime to take, make, share and possess indecent images of people under 18. The maximum sentence is 10 years. A person under the age of 18 cannot give their consent to the images being taken. In an email to staff on Sunday, the BBC's Director General Tim Davie said he was taking the allegations incredibly seriously. He said the situation was complex and that the corporation has been in contact with external authorities. That's our package for you this morning, but there's always more news on our website, 3news.com. Please do well to log on. Roland Cookie, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning. Good morning and good to see you too. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you
you.
celebrated his birthday?
Yes. The activities were too many that we couldn't concentrate on you. It was on Saturday, right?
Yes, Saturday.
Yes. Now I owe you double. That's what I know.
Oh, so
you for 2 years in a row, you haven't...
Not 2 years in a row. Last year, I didn't know about the birthday. This year, I happened to have picked it. I mean, I just cited it briefly on social media, but this weekend was very hectic, so the concentration wasn't there much. But how did you celebrate, though?
I was awake.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you got no cakes?
No.
No flowers?
No.
Nothing of that sort?
Nothing like that.
Okay, no problem. God is king still. Yeah. Wish him happy birthday.
Happy belated birthday.